Mom, you chose another husband. You have your own family now. You shouldn't be living with us anymore. I felt like he'd divorced me from my own life. If that sentence stings even a little when you hear it, you're not the only one. Before I tell you what I did after my own child told me to go live with my new family, do me a small favor. If you like having a steady, older voice keeping you company while you cook, clean, or just sit and rest, tap the like button and subscribe. It tells YouTube to bring you back to Aunt Ruby's table every time I share another long, honest story. Now, let me tell you how I went from being a lonely widow in my son's guest room to being treated like a stranger because I dared to fall in love again. My name is Diane. I'm 69 years old, and if life had gone the way I planned, I'd still be living in the yellow house on Maple Street with my first husband, Jack, complaining together about property taxes and the price of eggs. Jack and I were married for 43 years. We raised two kids in that house, my son Ben and my daughter Sarah. We weren't perfect parents, but we tried. We coached Little League, sat through band concerts, argued about curfews, and split cheeseburgers at the diner when money was tight. When Jack got sick, it was slow at first, a little short of breath, a little more tired. Then, one day, we went in for tests, and the doctor used words like advanced and already spread, and we'll focus on keeping him comfortable. I became a full-time caregiver overnight. The kids helped where they could, but they had their own lives. Ben had a wife and two little ones. Sarah was in another state, working as a nurse. I didn't blame them. That's the way life goes. Parents age, children orbit around their own suns. When Jack died, everybody told me, "You were such a good wife, Diane. You took care of him right until the end. Now you can rest." They didn't tell me what to do with the silence. The house was too big and too quiet. His slippers were still by the bed, his glasses were on the nightstand. I'd walk past his empty chair and catch myself starting to say, "Did you see that?" to a man who wasn't there anymore. I tried. I joined a grief group at church, I baked for the neighbors, I walked at the mall before it opened, because other widows did that, and I thought if I stayed close to people whose hearts were also cracked, maybe mine wouldn't split all the way in half. Ben worried about me. "Mom, you shouldn't be alone in that house," he kept saying. "It's too much. The stairs, the bills, everything." "I'll manage," I said. "Your father and I built our life there. I'm not ready to give it up yet." "You don't have to be stubborn to prove anything," he said. "We have the guest room. Move in with us. The kids would love having Grandma around." I resisted for almost a year. Then the boiler went out in the middle of winter, the roof started leaking, and a raccoon moved into the attic like he was paying rent. I stood in the kitchen one night with 3 estimates spread out on the table and realized I'd either spend the rest of my savings fixing problems or sell the place while it still had some value. Ben and Jessica invited me over for dinner to talk. "Mom, listen," Ben said between bites of lasagna. "Sell the house. Put the money away for yourself. Move in with us. We'll fix up the basement, make it like a little apartment. You'll have your own space, and we'll have peace of mind knowing you're not alone. It'll be good for all of us." Jessica smiled, a little tight around the edges, but kind. "We really do mean it," she said. "You've done so much for us. Let us take care of you now. Besides, free babysitting is pretty tempting." We all laughed, and my heart loosened. So I did it. I sold the yellow house on Maple Street. I packed up 43 years of life, gave away furniture, cried over old Christmas ornaments, and signed papers with trembling hands. Ben and Jessica made the basement beautifully. They put in new flooring, a small kitchenette, a walk-in shower so I wouldn't worry about slipping. There was a little patio just outside the sliding glass door where I could put plants and bird feeders. "Welcome home, Mom," Ben said the day we moved my last box in. "We've got you." I believed him. For the first 2 years, it really was almost idyllic. I made breakfast for the grandkids before school. I picked them up when sports practices ran late. I watered Jessica's plants when she forgot. They carried my heavier grocery bags and changed light bulbs without being asked. We had movie nights upstairs. I'd go back down to my place when they wanted couple time. We found a rhythm. Then I met Harold. He was not part of any plan. Harold came into my life at the community center's Tuesday afternoon line dancing class. My friend Marlene begged me to go. It's either learn to grapevine or sit at home watching reruns, she said. Come on, Di, Jack wouldn't want you to shrivel up. Harold was in the back row, a little stiff in the knees, a lot stiff in the shoulders, concentrating so hard on the steps that his tongue poked out the side of his mouth. He wore a plaid shirt, jeans, and orthopedic shoes that squeaked on the floor. When the instructor paired us up, he held out his hand. I'm Harold. I apologize in advance to your toes. I laughed for the first time in a long time. We started getting coffee after class, then lunch. Then we realized we both loved old westerns and crossword puzzles and making fun of those cooking shows where people cry over soufflés. He told me about his wife, Linda, who died 5 years before. I told him about Jack. I figured God gave me my one great love, and that was it, he said. Didn't think lightning struck twice. I figured I was too old and too tired to start again, I replied. We were both wrong. It wasn't some teenage whirlwind. It was slow and gentle. Two people sitting on a park bench, feeling less alone in their own skin. Two grocery carts bumping into each other in the cereal aisle because we'd started shopping together on Thursdays. Two hands finding each other in the dark at a community theater show. The first time Harold asked if he could kiss me goodnight, I felt both delighted and guilty. What will my children think? I asked Marlene the next day at coffee. That you're still alive, she said, and if they have a problem with that, that's their problem. I told Ben and Jessica about Harold at Sunday dinner. There's someone I've been spending time with, I said, trying to sound casual and not like a 16-year-old asking permission to go to the movies. Ben raised his eyebrows. Spending time, he asked. Like dating? Well, I wouldn't call it TikTok official or whatever you kids say, I replied. But yes, we go out. We enjoy each other's company. His name is Harold. He's very kind. Jessica smiled politely. That's nice, Diane, she said. I'm glad you're not lonely. Ben's smile was tighter. I mean, if it makes you happy, Mom, he said. It's just weird thinking of you with someone who isn't Dad. It's weird being with someone who isn't Dad, I admitted. But Dad is gone, and I'm still here. He nodded, but the conversation moved on quickly. Harold and I dated for a year before he proposed. We were sitting on a bench by the lake, watching ducks argue about breadcrumbs, when he pulled a small box from his pocket. I don't have fancy words, he said. I just know life got better when you walked into it. Would you consider marrying an old man with bad knees and a good heart? I laughed and cried all at once. Yes, I said, on one condition. Name it, he said. We promise each other we'll keep space for our kids, but we won't let them run this marriage, I replied. I won't choose between you and them, and you won't make me. He nodded. I've seen too many people our age turn into referees between their new spouse and their grown kids, he said. I don't want that. I just want to walk you home. We told the kids. Sarah cried happy tears over the phone. Mom, that's wonderful, she said. You deserve someone to sit on the porch with. Ben did not react that way. Married? He repeated, his voice going up a full octave, as in another husband? Yes, I said carefully. We love each other. We want to be together. Mom, that's fast, he said. You haven't even known him that long. I've known him long enough to know he's good to me, I said, and that matters. What about the grandkids? He demanded. They're still getting used to Grandpa being gone. Now they're supposed to have another man called Grandpa? It's confusing. They can call him Harold, I replied. No one is replacing your father. He's a new part of my life, not a substitute teacher. We argued in circles. He accused me of not thinking things through. I accused him of trying to freeze me in widowhood. We both said things we meant and things we didn't. In the end, I married Harold in a small ceremony at the church. Sarah came. Marlene stood up with me. Ben and Jessica sent flowers and a card that said, "Wishing you happiness," in a font that felt like it had been chosen by a committee. Harold and I decided not to rush anything with the living situation. I don't want to move into your son's basement, he said. You've already given up your house once. I don't want you to feel like you're visiting me on a leash, I replied. So we did what older people with complicated lives often do. We patched together something imperfect. Harold kept his little apartment across town. I stayed in the basement in-law suite. We spent most days together, splitting our time between places. He'd sleep at his place a few nights a week, mine the others. It wasn't ideal, but it was what we could manage until we figured out something more permanent. Ben and Jessica tolerated it, barely. They treated Harold like a guest, polite, distant, never rude, but never warm. The kids were curious, then shy, then cautiously affectionate. He taught my grandson how to whittle a small boat out of a scrap of wood. He helped my granddaughter with her math homework. I could see the cracks of something good trying to form. The problem wasn't Harold. It was me. Or rather, me in relation to them. The more time I spent with Harold, the more Ben seemed to feel I was less available to them. If I said no to a last-minute babysitting request because Harold and I had tickets to a concert, his voice would sharpen. "Must be nice," he'd say, "just doing whatever you want." "The tickets were a Christmas gift from Sarah," I'd remind him. "I've watched the kids every day after school this week. Harold's not some fling, he's my husband." Jessica started making comments. "It's just strange," she said one night while we were cleaning up. "You live here, but your husband doesn't. It's like we're half roommates, half in-laws." "I know it's odd," I admitted. "We're working on a plan. We're looking for a small place we can afford." "Just make sure we're in the loop," she said. "It affects us too." Months went by. The housing market was a mess. Prices were high, options were few. Harold's savings were modest. Mine were tied up in a safe little nest egg we were afraid to crack. We kept juggling. Then, everything blew up, over a birthday party. It was my granddaughter Lily's 10th birthday. Jessica had planned a big backyard party with balloons, a rented bounce house, and more sugar than anyone needed. Harold and I came early to help set up. Halfway through the party, Harold's sister called in a panic. Her car had broken down an hour away, and she needed a ride. She'd been on her way to the party with Harold's niece. "I'll go," Harold said. "I'll pick them up and bring them back." "I'll go with you," I replied automatically. Ben overheard. "Mom, Lily hasn't even opened her gifts yet," he protested. "Can't Harold go alone? This is her day. She's been talking about you being here all week." "I'll be back as fast as we can," I said. "But Harold shouldn't be driving that far alone at night. You know his eyes aren't great." Ben's jaw tightened. "She's your granddaughter," he said, "and this is your house. He's not helpless." Something in his tone made Harold stiffen. "I can stay," Harold said quietly to me. "You go. It's your family." That phrase, "your family," landed like a stone. "I'm not going to send you off in the dark on the highway alone," I said. "We'll both go. The party will still be going when we get back." We left. It took longer than we hoped. By the time we returned with Harold's sister and niece, the cake was eaten, the candles were melted stubs, and the sun was sliding down behind the trees. Lily ran to hug me, face sticky with frosting. "You missed my wish, Grandma," she said. My heart broke a little. "I'm so sorry, baby," I said. "I had to help Aunt Carol. Tell me all about it." Later that night, after everyone had gone home and the kids were in bed, Ben knocked on my basement door. "Can we talk?" he asked. Of course, I already tired. He came in, closed the door, and stood there with his arms crossed. "I'm going to say something, and I need you to let me finish," he said. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. "Go ahead," I said cautiously. "This arrangement isn't working," he began. "You living here full-time while being married to someone who lives somewhere else, you being half available and half not. It's confusing for the kids. It's stressful for us. And honestly, it's not fair." "Not fair to who?" I asked. "To me and Jessica," he said. "We built our life assuming you were part of this household. You moved in as grandma, not as a woman with a whole other family. We remodeled the basement. We changed our routines. And now it feels like we're sharing you with someone who isn't part of this unit." I swallowed. "Harold is my husband," I said. "That makes him part of my family." "I know," he said. "And that's exactly the point, Mom. You chose to build a new family with him. You have a husband, you have his sister, his niece, his world. It's not just us anymore. And I don't think it's healthy for us to keep pretending you belong to our household when half your life is somewhere else." He took a breath. "I think it's time," he said, "for you and Harold to get your own place. For real. Not this half in, half out thing. You've got your husband now. You should live with him. We need to be our own family here." The words hit me like cold water. "You're saying I shouldn't live here anymore?" I said, each syllable heavy. "I'm saying you married someone else and your life changed," he replied. "It's not that we don't love you. We do. The kids do. But we can't be the place you land when it's convenient and then share you with a whole other household. That's not how this works." "So because I didn't stay a widow forever," I said slowly, "I lose my home here?" "It's not your home, Mom," he burst out. "It's ours. It's mine and Jessica's and the kids. We invited you in because you were alone. You're not alone anymore. You have Harold. It's time to lean on him, not us." My throat tightened. "This isn't about square footage," I said. "This is about how you see me. You say our family like I'm some guest that overstayed her welcome." "You're twisting my words," he said. "I'm trying to set boundaries before we all resent each other." I felt like I was back in the hospital with Jack, listening to a doctor explain that something vital was shutting down, and there wasn't much they could do. "Do you really think I'm choosing Harold instead of you?" I asked quietly. He hesitated. "I think you chose to marry him," he said, "which is your right. And I think that means your primary loyalty should be to your husband." Husband, not to being our built-in babysitter. I sat down on the edge of my bed because my knees suddenly felt weak. "Do you know what my loyalty looked like when your father was dying?" I asked. "It looked like staying up all night holding his hand. It looked like lifting him when my back screamed. It looked like signing papers no one wants to sign. I did that. For decades before that, I did laundry and bills and homework and 1,000 invisible things for this family." "I know," Ben said. "We're grateful. We just—" "No," I cut in, surprising both of us with the steel in my voice. "You're not going to throw the word grateful at me like a tip. You're telling me that because I found someone to share the last stretch of my life with, I no longer qualify for the room you begged me to move into." He opened his mouth, closed it again. "You can stay while you figure out the logistics," he said, finally. "We're not monsters. But yes, Mom, I think you and Harold need your own place, separate from us, fully." He turned toward the door. "Ben," I said. He looked back. "When you got married," I said, "did I ever tell you that because you had Jessica, you didn't belong to this family anymore?" "No," he said, "but it's not the same." "It feels the same from where I'm sitting," I replied. He left. I sat there in the quiet basement that suddenly felt less like a home and more like a borrowed room. Later that night, I told Harold what had happened. We were at his apartment, sitting on his threadbare couch, the TV flickering in the background. "So that's it," I finished. "My son thinks I have a new family now, that I belong to you instead of them, that because I put on a white dress again, the grandma who lives downstairs contract is null and void." Harold's face was a mix of anger and guilt. "I'm sorry," he said. "I never wanted to be the reason you and your son fought. Maybe I should have stayed away." "Don't you dare," I said sharply. "You didn't do this. Fear did. Expectations did. The idea that mothers are supposed to be permanent fixtures until and unless they die alone in a rocking chair did." He sighed. "Maybe he has a point," Harold said gently. "Not about you not belonging, but about the living situation. We have been in limbo a long time. Maybe it is time we build something that's ours. 4 walls where no one can tell us we're half in and half out." I looked around his small apartment. The wallpaper was peeling in one corner. The carpet had seen better decades. But when I pictured us trying to cram my things into it, it felt less like a fresh start and more like a downgrade. "We can't afford anything nice," I said, "not without dipping into savings we might need for medical stuff." So we don't get nice, he replied. We get enough. Enough room for 2 chairs and a table and a bed and your teapot. Enough for family to visit instead of live on top of us. Enough to close the door and know we're not on anyone's time but our own. I thought about it all night. In the morning, I walked upstairs to the main kitchen where Jessica was packing lunches. Ben talked to me, she said, before I could speak. He told me what he said. I know it came out harsh. We're just overwhelmed, Diane. It feels like every time we turn around, there's another layer. First grief, then the move, then the marriage, then schedules. We're trying to protect our marriage and our kids, too. I understand, I said, but you need to hear something from me. I didn't get remarried to abandon my family. I got remarried so I wouldn't have to carry the rest of my life alone. There's a difference. She nodded slowly. That makes sense, she said, but it doesn't change the fact that this house doesn't feel like ours when there are 4 adults making decisions in it. I'm not arguing that part anymore, I replied. You're right. Too many grown-ups, not enough doors. Harold and I are going to look for a place together. For real this time. She looked surprised. You are? She asked. You don't have to rush. I'm not rushing, I said. I'm choosing. Because living somewhere I feel like a burden is worse than living somewhere a little smaller and shabbier, but knowing I belong there. Her shoulders relaxed. I don't want you to feel unwanted, she said. You already accomplished that, I said, not unkindly. The question is what we do with that feeling now. It took 3 months of searching, bargaining, and praying. Harold and I finally found a little 2-bedroom duplex on the edge of town. The carpet was new, the paint was cheap but fresh. There was a small porch with just enough room for 2 chairs and my potted geraniums. We signed the lease. On moving day, Ben helped carry boxes. He installed curtain rods and made sure the smoke detectors worked. He assembled our bed with the same hands that had once struggled with Lego instructions. When we were done, he stood in the doorway of our tiny living room, looking around. This is nice, he said, and I could hear the surprise in his voice. It's enough, I said, for us. He nodded. Mom, he said quietly, I'm sorry for how I said things, for making you feel like you had to choose. I'm sorry too, I replied, for letting you think my life was still orbiting around yours the way it did when you were 10. I should have set better boundaries from the start. He smiled sadly. I guess we're all learning how to be grown-ups at the same time, he said. A week later, the grandkids came to see our new place. We ordered pizza, played board games at the small kitchen table, and let them jump on the air mattress in the spare room. When they left, Lily hugged me tight. I like your new house, Grandma, she said. Now when we visit, it's like going on a trip. That night, sitting on our tiny porch with Harold, listening to the crickets, I realized something I wish I'd known earlier. Having a second chance at love doesn't mean abandoning your children, but it does mean your life is no longer defined only by their needs. If you're listening to this as an older mom who remarried and now feels like your kids think you traded them in, hear me. You are allowed to have a partner. You are allowed to build something new. Your motherhood does not expire when you put on another ring, and your children don't get to decide you're only welcome if you stay lonely. If you're listening to this as the child watching your widowed parent fall in love again, hear this too. Their new spouse is not your replacement, and you are not their emotional support animal. You are their child. Let them be a whole person, not just a role. My son told me I had another family now and should live apart from his. He was wrong about one thing and right about another. He was wrong that love is a pie you slice into smaller and smaller pieces until nothing's left. It isn't. Love grows, shifts, stretches. It makes room. But he was right about this. I did need a life that was fully mine, not half borrowed from his. I needed a place where I could be a wife and a mother and a grandmother without feeling like any of those rules were trespassing. In the end, that's what we found in this little duplex with the crooked porch light. My son has his home, I have mine. We visit each other now instead of stepping on each other. And when Harold and I sit on this porch holding hands, watching the sun go down, I don't feel like I chose him instead of my children. I feel like, for the first time in a long time, I finally chose me.